Golden underwear. I took a look back through my old game library just to see what some of the old games that I used to play were, and this game came up. Spongebob Sqaurepants Battle for Bikini Bottom. I have a lot of fond memories playing this game. I used to really enjoy playing it, but I figured I'd go back and take a look and see if this game is actually a good game. Spongebob Sqaurepants Battle for Bikini Bottom is a 3D platformer where you play as Spongebob Sqaurepants as well as some of his other friends using your run and jump and a basic attack ability to push switches, jump onto platforms, and basically work your way throughout the world. There's a fair diversity of abilities that are available to you right from the beginning of the game. You can do a basic forwards attack, a jump, as well as a kind of a shoot upwards ability, a shoot outwards ability, and a stomp. Use these mechanics basically to move throughout the world and press switches that you need to push that activate certain things that you need to do, whether it's timers, open doors, kill an enemy, or whatever. Right off the bat, I have a critique for this game. You have these diverse set of abilities that you can use, but you really use them all in the same ways. You either pushing a switch or defeating an enemy. There's not a ton of other options. Your basic attack, you're often pushing switches or defeating enemies with the same attack, not really using your other abilities for anything else other than killing enemies and pushing switches. Where the extra diversity comes in are in these other unique abilities that are much more situational or you accumulate as you progress through the game. There's a roll a sponge ability where you can squish SpongeBob up into a ball and roll him to increase his movement. There are fish hooks that are hanging around where SpongeBob can jump on and use his underwear to hang himself and launch himself downwards in a sort of a bungee dive mini-game thing. Later in the game you pick up two abilities, the bubble bowl and the bubble missile, where SpongeBob uses his bubble blowing technique to launch a missile at enemies or switches, and he can use it to blow up a bowling ball that he kind of rolls and uses that to attack enemies and push his switches. They're all the damn same! The one mechanic, however, that is probably my favorite and probably the most fun thing to play with in this game is the sliding mechanics. When you reach certain areas that are slide enabled, you hop on and SpongeBob uses his tongue to surf down these slopes and, bash boxes, collect collectibles, and platforming where you jump between different levels of these slides where you get to the bottom, usually for some sort of reward. The controls during these sections are smooth, allowing you to kind of flow freely around, but adding some challenge, giving you sharp turns or forks in the road or platforms where you have to jump precisely onto to earn extra collectibles. A lot of fun and a fair amount of challenge, surprisingly, for a mechanic in this game. In addition to playing as SpongeBob, you can play as his two friends, Patrick and Sandy. Patrick and the f***ing fruit, he can't actually do some of the things SpongeBob can, but he can pick up these fruits and throw them around, once again, to kill enemies and hit switches. Sandy, however, kicks f***ing ass. She's got intense combat abilities. She can jump and kick and do shit in the air. She can lasso, which allows her to fly through the air. She can also launch onto things and kind of like rope swing, Tarzan swing through, which she is so much fun to play with. I wish that the game had actually just let you play as Sandy more, because her mechanics were by far the most fun. She could surf as well as SpongeBob, the swing, the rope thing, kicking enemies' asses. It's a lot of fun. So that's a shitload of mechanics that are in this game. All sorts of things you can do. All of SpongeBob's abilities, in addition to the situational mechanics, as well as the two different characters who each have their own unique set of mechanics. That's a shitload of stuff. And what's disappointing is you use all this stuff just to hit switches and kill enemies. I really would have liked to see some diversity in what you use these abilities for, rather than just doing the same things over and over again. Contrasting that to a game like Mario, where you get so much mileage out of the same mechanic. Run and jump, you use the same thing for all sorts of stuff. Here in SpongeBob, rather than giving you diversity in a small amount of mechanics, they just give you a shitload of mechanics where you do the same thing over and over again. In traditional 3D platformer fashion, there are a fair amount of collectibles that SpongeBob and his friends are going to need to collect along his journey to progress forwards. The primary of these being the golden spatulas that kind of serve as like Mario stars or Banjo-Kazooie jiggies that you have to collect that open up new areas. You have to use them to purchase access to new levels that you can then collect more and work your way through the game that way. The other types of side collectibles include Patrick's socks, dirty, smelly socks that when you collect enough, he'll give you a golden spatula. These shiny objects that you need to collect, sort of like coins in Mario, I guess, where if you collect enough, then you can... There's certain areas in the game where you'll need to purchase things with these shiny objects that usually end up opening a doorway that's going to get you access to another golden spatula. Also, Mr. Krabs has a set of golden spatulas that you need to pay for using the shiny objects, same as the others, I guess. And rarely hidden throughout the game, there are sets of golden underwear that increase SpongeBob's total health. Golden underwear! Golden underwear! Each of the levels are designed in sort of the same way in this linear but yet circular fashion. As you begin each of the levels, there's usually some sort of meta or overall quest or two that will require you to go through the entire level and circle back to complete for a golden spatula. And along your way, you'll find access to the different challenges that will get you the other golden spatulas. In each of these levels, this process usually repeats once or twice with one major loop or a couple loops that loop back on itself for golden spatulas. For example, the first level, Squidward gets stung by jellyfish, so you have to get the jellyfish jelly to rub on his head so he doesn't hurt anymore. Anyways, it takes you the whole time around the level till the final part where you get the jelly, then come back and heal him for the first golden spatula in the game, but you'd end up earning a bunch along your journey. The other levels follow this same type of formula, having you go in a linear fashion and then in the end circling back to the entrance where the first mission was assigned. I don't mind this design. It's not maybe the best way to do it, but by far not the worst way. It's much more difficult for players to get lost and miss golden spatulas because they're all along the same path, but the problem here is if there's a lot of situations where if the player is stuck on a certain challenge that requires them to move forward, they may end up only earning 2 or 3 of the golden spatulas in the level and not make it through the rest of the level. The story is pretty simple, but it does fit very well with the SpongeBob lore. Plankton has created this sentient group of robots who've taken over Bikini Bottom, and SpongeBob and Patrick, of course, think it was their fault, so they're on a journey to try to stop them all and end up helping out Bikini Bottom. The enemy designs are all pretty similar. They're all robots, and they're usually like between 2 and 5 of the same robots over and over again. I mean, it's pretty repetitive, and you see them in level 1 and in the final level. Each of the missions as well in the levels fit with this kind of ridiculous SpongeBob over-the-top style, which is actually quite charming and maybe one of my favorite parts of the game. Just, oh, you come up to someone and you go, oh, here we go, what do they have for me now? And it definitely lives up to the hype each time, kind of being a funny interaction with one of the familiar SpongeBob characters. And maybe one of my favorite mechanics in this game, and maybe some people would disagree, but as you work your way through the level, if you've come up to an opportunity where you could earn a golden spatula, but you didn't, you can end up going into the level select screen where you can select that and taxi right to that place. So you don't have to work your way through the entire level to get back there. Now, you can't go there right away, you have to have been there before, but this means that if you miss something, don't worry, you can end up circling back and go right to where you were before, so you don't have to waste time backtracking through levels, which I really appreciated. There are some bosses that you come across over the course of this game, spread throughout, and they are definitely good, bad, and ugly. These boss battles are often exciting, kind of big set pieces that provide nice breaks in regular gameplay, but they are so repetitive, often forcing you to do the same set of actions in sequence, sometimes even 9 times the same action. Oh, slam on the boss head, oh, do this, oh, okay, now do it again 9 times. Which is very repetitive and not really that diverse at all. Really, nothing. And they're all kind of a bit ugly. I mean, the major bosses are robot versions of Sandy, Patrick, and SpongeBob, and these are all kind of weird and crazy, and the Patrick spews acid. It's just kind of ugly and strange, but it's definitely interesting. The presentation in Spongebob Sqaurepants Battle for Bikini Bottom is very, very strange. They tried to capture the cartoon look of the show in a 3D game, and this worked kind of well. There are softer textures and kind of give it that cartoon look. But there are some really weird models and textures, and sometimes in cavities in the models it's just black, so it makes some of them seem quite scary. Like SpongeBob, when he's in Sandy's house, he just looks like weird, crazy, and it's like kind of cute, but also like, is this going to turn into a horror movie at any second? For the most part, the iconic SpongeBob locations and characters have been recreated fairly well and do a decent job of kind of calling back to the show. And for the most part, the game areas are interesting to explore. I mean, when you come across an area that you've seen in the show before and you know it, it's fun to kind of go through and see what kind of characters and interactions you'll find. There are a few levels, however, that only appear once or twice in the show and maybe are a bit of a stretch, and I might have not included them at all. Overall, Spongebob Sqaurepants Battle for Bikini Bottom is a surprisingly well-developed game for a licensed game. Often those aren't well developed or thought out at all. I've got to commend the amount of work and detail and content that was put into this game. It is a competent game and does well to honor the license. However, the overall design I think falls short here. The level designs leave a lot to be desired, and I would have really liked to see the game spend a lot more time in some of the most fun mechanics, like playing as Sandy or doing those kind of cool surfing sequences. So, for that reason, my final verdict for Spongebob Sqaurepants Battle for Bikini Bottom is a 6 out of 10. A slightly above average game. Like I said, this game is maybe an above average game for a licensed title. Some of it works and some of it doesn't. I really have to appreciate, though, the work and that the development team behind this game put into it, and I enjoyed it back when I played, but I think it's maybe just slightly above an average game. Well, that'll do it for Spongebob Sqaurepants Battle for Bikini Bottom. I gotta thank you guys so much for watching. If you haven't already, hit that subscribe button. I would really appreciate it. And if you enjoyed the video, maybe leave a like or a comment with some of your memories from SpongeBob, or maybe some of other games back in your collection that you've gone through and are not sure if it's a good game or not, like I did with this one. But thanks again so much for watching, and I hope to see you next time on Yes Guy Gaming.